Hello and welcome to Preludes. My name is Angel Corella and I'm the Artistic Director of the Philadelphia Ballet. Today I'm here with a great company with Catherine Manger and Beatrice Efron, and we're going to be talking about the upcoming ballet Coppelia. Hello, thank you for coming, both of you. What is your first experience with this ballet, with Coppelia?
Well, my first experience was actually it was the first production I ever did here in Philadelphia. I was the assistant conductor. I had seen, the only ballet I had seen before becoming the assistant conductor was Coppelia at City Center on my birthday. And it was my introduction to ballet.
Mm-hmm. And you, Katie?
My first time seeing Coppelia was when I was 16.
But you've never danced?
I've actually danced
it. Oh, you danced it? Oh,
yeah,
okay. Right.
I've done it the full length when I was 16. Yeah, with my school though.
And what is the role that you played in?
Swanhilda.
You played Swanhilda.
Yeah.
Beatrice, what is this score different than any other score that you have conducted?
So the composer, Léo Delibes, in some ways, I think, as I understand it, is in some ways the father of classical ballet. This is certainly what George Balanchine said about him. This was composed, it was premiered actually on my birthday, May 25th, 1870, not my birth year. And I think one of the things that we love so much about it and that makes it so much fun to conduct is that every detail in the action is also in the music, particularly in Act 2. So it's really a see the music, hear the dance kind of a piece.
Yeah, and for you, Katie, you've danced it, and you've danced Swanhilda. What do you think from the whole ballet? It's the most, the most special part of this role.
I really like the wedding scene. That's super special for me because I've done that variation so many times growing up for competition, and I've done the pas de deux too with multiple partners, and it's just the music is really nostalgic for me.
And it has a lot of comedy involved in the ballet. How do you, prepare for the process of, using that timing with your partner, with France, and telling the story through comedy and through dance?
I think what I love about it so much is that she's just a girl. She's not a princess. She's not royalty. She's just like the girl next door, and she experiences all those emotions that everyone experiences, all humans. So she's very sassy and funny and quirky, and yeah.
Do you feel like you're close to that character?
A little bit, yeah.
So, Beatrice, when you conduct normally for the orchestra, just as without ballet, how is different from when you conduct for ballet? Do you have to have a different process with the dancers?
I mean, this is why I love ballet and I love conducting opera as well as I love being in the theater, and I love the interdisciplinary nature of conducting theatrical works. As much as I enjoy symphonic work, it just has me firing on all pistons. So it's just one of the great joys,
So for you, Katie, sometimes you have to rehearse this ballet with other ballets at the same time, and sometimes modern ballets. They're very different. How do you manage to do the two different styles?
That's a good question. I think that takes a lot of mental strength and physical strength, and sometimes there are days that it's really, really hard to do that. But I think this is my 7th season, so I feel like I've had some time to improve and feel stronger with changing from one thing to another.
Mm-hmm. Beatrice, you know that the two of us at the beginning of the season, or sometimes even during the season, we get together in one room and then we start putting together the score when I'm going to create a new full length. What is that process like?
We've now done, 4 or 5 ballets together.
I think 5 or 6.
5 or 6. It's sort of, I call it like a knitting process that you and our wonderful solo pianist, Martha Kahneman, and I get together in usually a very small room and kind of sing through everything. I've never known another choreographer who could sing every note of every ballet. You win that prize. No, but it's incredibly useful and helpful in helping us to figure out, he's jumping from this spot to here, we're going to create a cut, and then we're going to Angel is going to decide, and we're going to help advise him, how many times do we repeat this, and what happens if we create a cut here, how do we make it smooth? And it's been a really interesting, and it's not an unusual process, but it's a process that I hadn't been through that often until you became artistic director, so it's, now we're just...
And sometimes we take from other scores and we try to,
Exactly. The variation from Sylvia is finding its way into our third act.
Yeah. Same composer, yeah?
Same composer. And again, this is very much the tradition of ballet. I mean, they've been sort of doing this since the beginning, interpolating from here and there. Even Tchaikovsky did this way back when, in the 1880s. So it's a fun process to go through together.
Definitely. You've seen different versions of Coppelia before. What are you looking forward to this Coppelia when we create it?
Well, hearing about the Sylvia variation, I think I know which one you're talking about. And I love that piece of music, so that's exciting to hear, like a different part put into your version. But I think I'm just excited for something fresh. We've never done this as a company before, and it's a great story. And there's just a lot of ranges for emotions for any character.
Do you think you would consider that this ballet is a good story for kids, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's I mean, it's not like the Nutcracker, but it has a lot of elements that any kid can relate to. And Beatrice, you were talking about the supernatural and how there's a lot involved, especially in the second act, and how the music fits with all the characters and all the timing of the comedy. Can you expand a little bit more about?
Sure. So this ballet is based on another story by E.T.A Hoffmann. So Hoffmann wrote the Hard Nut, which is the Nutcracker, and he also wrote something called The Sandman. And this ballet is based more or less on that. He also wrote something called The Doll. So when they created this ballet in 1870, they put together these stories. And so it has a lot in common even with things like Giselle and other 19th century ballets, in which they're very interested in the supernatural. And in this case, they're very interested in bringing things to life, like dolls that turn into people. And, I mean, this story was written in 1817. In 1818, Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. So it's something that was very much kind of a source of fascination for people at the time.
And a lot of the fairy tales, that were actually kind of dark, and with time they have shifted a little bit into for the whole family. But before they
that's
were
right.
really
Disney
dark.
has taken care of that, right?
Yeah.
Kind of softening the edges so that it's more palatable for a young audience. But this is definitely great for kids, especially Act 2, which is absolutely hilarious. I think it's very hard to do comedy in dance because it's nonverbal, and I think this really succeeds, as well as any.
And I think the second act, if it went that much further, it'd be borderline, too cheesy or too tacky. But I feel like the story does a really good job of going to that line, and it's just enough.
Yeah, because comedy is all about timing. We were talking about that before, and you have to have the exact moment, exact facial or body expression for the audience to understand what's going on. And I think that in the second act that happens a lot, especially with Swanhilda and Dr. Coppelius. Can you talk a little bit, like between the two of you, about the story and how it develops a little bit? I know that there's a lot happening, but a little bit about what your idea of what the story is. And
Sure. Well, I think as Katie was mentioning, Swanhilda is a real person. She's not a sylph. She doesn't go insane. Her heart is not broken. It is about love. It is about, asking, does he love me, or doesn't he love me? But it's
like young love.
It's young love, and it's very relatable when you consider that it's from
like
1870.
Yeah.
So I think that makes the story very, very appealing. And then just sort of the hijinks and the naughtiness, which in some productions can border on cruelty, I think. I doubt that will be the case in this version, but it just sort of, I think for folks who haven't seen this before, it might be quite a surprise to see this kind of lightheartedness, but also real humanness too.
So Beatrice, how would you categorize Delibes' music? I know that you've you know all the different composers, but we were talking about that before.
Yeah, there's a level of detail and storytelling in this music which I think is unprecedented before him. There's just nothing left to chance. And I don't know where that came from. It's as if he sort of sprang really from nowhere, because it's a very different idea about writing for dance. I mean, Giselle is also very, very detailed. But I think because Giselle is a tragedy, it doesn't need to be responsible for every moment quite the way a comic ballet needs to take out everything into account.
Yeah, because Delibes is not as popular as a composer as Tchaikovsky, for example.
Not at all,
Yeah.
yeah. But Tchaikovsky admired him hugely. He admired Delibes a lot, and he admired Adam, the composer of Giselle. He you know, when his first full-length ballet, of course, was Swan Lake, and at the time he sort of looked down on ballet music. This was in 1875, and the more he learned about it and spent time with the dancers and time in the theater, the more his admiration and appreciation grew. Yeah.
What would you say to someone that has never seen Coppelia? What would you say to them to go to the theater and see it? I know that most people know ballets like The Nutcracker or Swan Lake or Sleeping Beauty, but Coppelia, the story is not as well known as those ballets. What would you say to someone that has never seen it so they would go and see it? I know it's a hard question, but.
It's a hard question.
Well, I would say that they should expect to have a great time. Yeah. That they should expect to laugh, and that they should expect to hear really beautiful music and to be very, very entertained, and that it's really for everyone of every age. This is everyone should enjoy this.
And the great thing is that there's not words spoken, so everyone can understand.
That's
of
right.
all ages, you know, cultures. So I think it's a great ballet too. To experience. Well, thank you so much for joining me and for joining us in these Preludes. Hope to see you at the Academy of Music to see Coppelia with the Philadelphia Ballet. Thank you for watching.